حتى أنا أتحقق بالتدريب وتعطوني
لترشيح عماد ميشيل عون.
المعارضة السورية هي اللي تحدد من يمثلها.
Good afternoon, you're watching the English newscast on Future Television. I'm Minute and these are today's top stories. Future movement leader Saad Hariri criticizes Lebanon's foreign ministry for not endorsing a statement issued by OIC members accusing Iran of supporting terrorism. Prime Minister Tamam Slam says the Iranian meddling in the Arab world is the origin of the conflict with Saudi Arabia. And Tunisia declares a nationwide curfew after days of protests and rioting over jobs and economic conditions. Future movement leader MP Saad Hariri has criticized Lebanon's foreign ministry for not endorsing a statement accusing Iran of supporting terrorism. The statement was issued following a meeting of a global Muslim body in Saudi Arabia a day earlier. Hariri said the ministry's decision to distance Lebanon from the position of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation does not reflect the opinion of the majority of the Lebanese. A statement issued following an emergency OIC meeting condemned what it said was Iran's interference in the internal affairs of the region and other OIC member states, including Bahrain, Yemen, Syria, and Somalia, and its continued support for terrorism. Free Patriotic Movement MP Ibrahim Kanaan has urged political parties to take advantage of the agreement that was reached between Lebanese Forces leader Samir Jaja and MP Michel Aoun. Following talks with Jaja and Marab, he said, quote, "The agreement should be expanded to include all political blocs. We cannot exclude anyone, and we urge all sides to support the agreement." He added that the matter does not only concern Christians, but all the Lebanese. Jaja and his longtime rival Aoun held a landmark meeting on Monday, during which he endorsed the MP for the presidency in an attempt to end the deadlock over the country's top post. FPM officials have been holding talks with numerous political figures since then to persuade them to support Jaja's endorsement. Prime Minister Tamam Slam says the Iranian meddling in the Arab world is the origin of the conflict with Saudi Arabia. The Premier was speaking at the World Economic Forum panel in Davos, Switzerland. He added, quote, "We have to work for the sake of our people. We have to provide them with stability and hold on to moderation." Salam voiced calls to support the approach of moderation and fight extremism, stressing that the key to that is by stopping poverty and implementing necessary economic and development projects. For his part, Iraq's Prime Minister Haider al-Abadi vowed a collapsing Islamic State's presence in his country will be largely eradicated by the end of this year.
From your perspective, Prime Minister Salam, you're also a frontline state when it comes to the war in Syria, and you have a quarter of your population are Syrian refugees. Are you getting enough help from your Arab neighbors in terms of humanitarian necessity? And what about your daily skirmishes that don't get reported, but with Daesh along the border area? How destabilizing is that?
Well, it certainly is destabilizing, not only for Lebanon, but also for the region. And whenever this situation is discussed, followed up, everybody goes immediately to the violence, to the extremism, to the terrorism. And they start gauging the matters according to who won here, who lost there, what arms were deployed there.
We are having this war on Iraqi land, of course it's in Syria as well, against Daesh, and we are winning this war. We have kicked Daesh out of Ramadi. It's not only Ramadi, the city proper, is complete area outside Ramadi, which, to be honest with you, some areas were never under the control of Iraqi security forces for a very long time, even before Daesh rolled into Iraq. Now it's been liberated, Daesh being pushed back. Daesh is almost on the retreat, is collapsing. But somebody is sending a lifeline to them. Just after Ramadi, sectarianism is a very powerful weapon. It's being used by all regional players just to further their own interests, but they're using all weapons available to them. Iraq just happened to be on the fault line there. We are fighting together. Now, local police in Al-Anbar is holding the ground at the moment. There are locals from Al-Anbar itself. They're fighting together with our CTS, anti-terrorist squad, with our own army, with our own military. They are fighting together. Now we have reduce sectarianism in Iraq to the minimum, but I can find now messages are coming across from the region, from all these media organs, trying to encourage sectarianism. This is costing us lives in Iraq at the moment. It's giving a lifeline to Daesh to recruit more people from the region. Most of the people who are fighting in Iraq and very hardcore terrorists are not Iraqis. Iraqis usually just flee away. They don't have the ideology to fight with Daesh. But mostly the others who come from outside Iraq are hardcore. They suicide bombers, they kill a lot of civilians, and they're causing us lives. So I think the region can play a major role in supporting us in our fight against Daesh by controlling the, well, I'm not saying control the truth, by spreading the truth. At the moment, they're not spreading the truth.
What about actual material help, humanitarian or military help?
Well, that has been very little, to be honest with you, especially with our fiscal problem last year and this year is huge on us. Oil prices has plummeted. Before my government was formed, the oil price per barrel was over $100 per barrel. At the moment, we are selling it yesterday $22 per barrel. If you take the cost of producing one barrel, it will only be left us with $13 per barrel. That's a huge reduction. I have to sustain the war. I have to sustain the economy with all other expenditure. It's tough. Now, with the liberation of Ramadi, which has been the infrastructure being damaged by Daesh, by the war, we have to stabilize the area with the support. We haven't been receiving, to be honest with you, any support apart from Kuwait, who's allocated $200 million to help our restructure these areas. Thank you very much for that. But we expect much more from the others.
U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry says the United States will seek a 30% increase in UN humanitarian funding this year at a UN summit to be hosted by President Barack Obama in response to the global refugee crisis. In a speech to the World Economic Forum in Davos, Kerry said the summit will also seek to increase the number of regular humanitarian donor countries by 10 and to at least double the number of refugees who are resettled or allowed other safe and legal channels of admission.
And in response to the global refugee crisis, President Obama is going to host a summit at the UN this fall, and the summit will be the culmination of a sustained, rigorous effort to rally the world community on several fronts to increase by 30% the response to humanitarian funding appeals, the number of regular humanitarian donors, to increase it by at least 10, to at least double the number of refugees who are resettled or afforded other safe and legal channels of admission, to expand by 10 the total number of countries admitting refugees, and to get 1 million children in school and 1 million people working legally. Now, the private sector, civil society, religious organizations will also be called on to help integrate refugees into host communities socially, academically, and through access to employment.
Up to 20 people are killed in a suicide attack at a hotel and restaurant in the heart of the Somali capital. More details coming up. Welcome back. Tunisia has declared a nationwide curfew after days of protests and rioting over jobs and economic conditions. Protests over unemployment in the country, which started in the western Kasserine province, intensified and spread to other parts of the country. Solidarity rallies were held in cities including Tunis, Sidi Bou Said and Gafsa, with several reports of suicide attempts as frustration over the lack of jobs boiled over. A policeman was reportedly killed when demonstrators overturned his car in the town of Feriana. At least 42 people, including 17 children, have drowned after 2 boats carrying refugees capsized in the agency. In the first incident, the bodies of 6 children and 2 women were recovered early this morning after a wooden boat carrying 49 people capsized off the small Greek island of Farmakonisi in eastern Aegean. Authorities said they rescued 1 girl while 40 more people safely made it to land. Separately, at least 34 people died after another refugee sailing boat sank off the island of Kalolymnos early this morning. The Coast Guard said that 26 people had been pulled to safety and rescue operations were ongoing. Moving on to Africa, up to 20 people were killed when Al-Shabaab suicide bombers and gunmen attacked a seafront hotel and restaurant in the heart of the Somali capital. A car packed with explosives rammed into the Beach View Hotel on Lido Beach in Mogadishu, after which several Al-Shabaab fighters reportedly opened fire at the hotel. Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump has called out fellow presidential hopefuls, slamming Republican rival Jeb Bush for an attack ad that says the real estate mogul would lose to Democratic presidential candidate Hillary Clinton in the general election. Trump also criticized Senator Ted Cruz and called Bernie Sanders a wacko, in his words.
But you know, this poor, pathetic, low-energy guy, he gets up and he does a commercial that they show Hillary winning an election. It's great. That's just what we need, a commercial that's positive for Hillary. This is the kind of thinking we have in this country. So he'll spend another $10 million. He does so many negative commercials. So he does a picture of, and then I said to myself, wait a minute. I'm going to lose to Hillary, and he's going to win, but he's losing to me by like 35 points. He's not even on the scale. These people, we got a bunch of real dummies, I tell you. He said, oh, Hillary Clinton will beat me. Let me tell you, the last Fox poll, just so you understand, the last Fox poll shows I'm going to beat her. I'm going to beat her so easily. I haven't even started on her yet. I haven't even started. Ted is starting to go down. He's getting nervous. You see him now? Oh, by the way, we're putting a commercial, and you're going to like it tomorrow. But it's a very positive commercial. But Ted is getting very, very nervous. He should get nervous because a lot of polls are coming out. They're not looking good for Ted. They're not looking good. You know, his new line of attack is that I've become establishment. Oh, give me a break. Down. He had his moment. He had his moment and he blew it. But he's, you know. And then this guy, this wacko Bernie Sanders, who wants to, by the way, wants to bring your taxes to 90%, okay? He says everything's free. The only problem is you're going to pay 90%.
This marks the end of our bulletin for today. Now for a reminder of our headlines. Future Movement leader MP Saad Hariri criticizes Lebanon's foreign ministry for not endorsing a statement issued by OIC members accusing Iran of supporting terrorism. Prime Minister Tamam Salam says the Iranian meddling in the Arab world is the origin of the conflict with Saudi Arabia. And Tunisia declares a nationwide curfew after days of protests and rioting over jobs and economic conditions. Those are your top stories for today. I'm Linda Tamim, and I'll see you again tomorrow for more updates. Take care.
أنا أتحقق التدريب وتعطوني
لترشيح العماد ميشيل عون.
المعارضة السورية هي اللي تحدد من يمثلها.